So our guest today is Bobby Quinn, founder of Raven Spatial.
Bobby Quinn.
Just to give you a little bit of a background, Bobby, I think you know a little bit of this. This podcast called The Opportunity Hour is intended for pilots and or air crew who started side businesses to get on and talk entrepreneurship. And or a company offering a service or a product to air crew, also to talk entrepreneurship. And you kind of fit all three of those bills with Raven Spatial. You and I have talked quite a bit throughout the past year or so, and it's been fun to watch the evolution, the ups and downs and peaks and valleys. You've had several of each. Give us a little bit of a background on what Raven Spatial is, and then we'll dive in and bombard you with questions.
That's great. Hey, thanks, Tyler. I appreciate you having me on today and talking with me. So real quick, I'm talking to pilots, so I'm just going to talk a little faster than I normally would. That's how we do it.
I'm not that good of a pilot. I don't have a co-pilot. I don't have a navigator. I don't have a crew.
So there I was flying UAVs in Afghanistan for the Navy's surveillance program. It was a special surveillance program back in 2012 to 2014.
Awesome.
Getting into drones, but right before I'm out of sequence here. I started off all bad, but
that's fine.
Before I did that, I was flying for an aerial imagery company that I owned. I was a pilot, I was a photographer, and there I had this feeling like, okay, I'm flying fixed wing aircraft, but now I'm competing with fly by night drone companies. And when I started that company in 2010, there were maybe two drone companies out there.
So just to be clear, you were flying actual aircraft, not drones.
Yeah, exactly. So like
doing the same thing that these now drones. Oh, so that you did that.
I did that, yeah. So this is the Sunshine Skyway. We all know this flying into MacDill, right?
And for those of you that are just listening that aren't watching the YouTube channel, it's an amazing shot aerial of probably one of the coolest bridges in our country. And so you took that from an aircraft, an airplane, like you were in the plane. Oh,
yeah, I was in the plane. It was Cowboys and Indians Day, so I'm going to admit something that would probably get me in trouble. But flying 152, one of my first jobs, and I was bouncing back and forth, single occupant in the aircraft, back and forth between the seats, using both controllers, shooting out the window. It was the most unsafe thing I've ever done. So sorry, FAA, if you're listening.
Did you fly under the bridge?
I did not fly under the bridge.
Well, then you're fine.
Yeah, actually, those are still on my bucket list. So, you know.
Oh, cool mug, Brandon. Are we matching right now?
Oh, are you kidding
Twinsies.
me?
Cool.
Twinsies. Wow. And if you don't edit out that twinsies comment, I'm going to shoot.
I'm going to lead with it.
As you should. Touché.
So I was in this aerial imagery company, and what I was learning was that there's a huge pain point in non-technical people like realtors ordering drone imagery and aerial imagery. They had a very difficult time trying to explain on a map exactly where they wanted it. So I lived through this problem, and we were like facing like 6 to 7 emails on average going back and forth to the customer. Like, exactly where do you want this imagery of? I would draw a map, send it to them. They would confirm or edit it and send it back. And I was like, if I could make a map where people could just order, it'd be super easy. That coupled with facing obsolescence from the drone imagery, the drone market just took off. And in 2010, when I started, there were 2 companies. When I left to go overseas in 2012 and operate remotely this company from afar, there was probably 150 in the local area. It was insane. And it was exponential growth for them. They were charging, driving to the bottom, like $100 per property, where I was $500 per property before that. So yeah, I was facing obsolescence. I'm paying for fuel. I'm paying for all the overhead. And it is what it is. Like, tech companies will evolve quickly. You face obsolescence, you either change or you die. You gotta adapt and overcome. So, but I made the call. I didn't want to get into drone imagery. It just wasn't what I liked doing. I loved flying, and I liked spinning around in circles till I got sick, and then coming home. not being able to do that, I said, okay, I got to do something cool. I got to get into drone imagery. I got to break in, into the market somehow. So took a job flying the bigger UAVs in Afghanistan for 2 years. And over there, I had a lot of time to teach myself GIS and geospatial science. And I started tackling the problem that I had as an imagery owner, like the problem of people ordering the imagery. So here I am, I teach myself GIS. I'm like, okay, now I could actually make a map where people could order that imagery. But I didn't really have an application. I got back home and I worked for this company for a little bit called Digital Globe. It's one of the biggest satellite companies in the world. If you use Google Earth, you'll see their satellite imagery all over it.
Oh, I've seen that, definitely.
So yeah. And that was a super cool job. I BS'd my way into that job. I didn't have any experience and I kind of talked my way in.
Well, haven't we all, really, when you think?
Yeah, if you don't, you're not doing it right.
I mean, come on. They asked me how many hours I'd flown for the first airline. I was like, what's the minimum? And I'll tell you
that
how many.
That one.
Yeah. That's what I flew.
This is guilty admission hour with
Yeah, it's too late now. I'm already on.
So yeah, suckers.
I think.
Yeah, they got me in. I started doing geospatial analysis for them, and then progressed to that company for the next 3 years. I worked with them as a program manager, as a crowdsourced satellite imagery guy. So we would take normal people, not geospatial analysts, and have them mark up features in satellite imagery over a broad scale. And we were collecting like houses. We would identify new houses in satellite imagery over 100,000 square kilometers a day. It was super cool. Like it was super cool. So, but I started seeing applications there that would require something with higher resolution than satellite imagery. And Digital Globe wasn't interested in following that route. They wanted to stay satellite and their customers and not go any different verticals. And I go, man, well, if we could task drones to go exactly where we wanted them and get the imagery that we wanted, we would have something here. And if we could go one further,
they want to pivot or at least add that to their portfolio. Did they give you a reason? Or?
Risk. Yeah, it's just risk.
Oh, it's risk. Okay, they had a niche.
Yeah, they had a niche, and I was told, hey, it's a brilliant idea, just not something that we're willing to invest the risk in right now. So okay, that's cool.
They'll buy you later.
Yeah. So maybe if the price is right.
Sure.
So I got an addendum to the NDA with them. I ended up going on my own. I started the company in April 2018, and I left to go full time in August 2018. They signed over the IP to me, said it's all yours, go to town, and we're not going to compete with you. So I've been building it over the last 2.5 years now, and essentially what it is, Raven Spatial is specialized in collecting drone and smartphone imagery. So from above and the street level of properties anywhere in the country. We automate that process to make it easy for the average person to collect the imagery for us.
Quick question. And forgive me in advance because I like to interrupt and ask questions. And it's only because if I don't ask, I'll forget because I don't have the capacity. Penguins and that whole thing. All right, so would you say you owned like the ground, the mid-level, and then somebody else owns the satellite stuff and put that all together? Is that something that could happen later in the future? That's
actually a good way to say what we're doing. So I like to go to medical diagnostics and talk about that because that's something that people can relate to. Like there's a different tool for different levels of examination. You have your X-ray, your MRI, and your telescope. And if you go in with a general ailment, the doctor's not going to pull out the microscope and start looking at you. However, if you go in and they start zeroing in on the problem and then they want to do labs on you, then they're going to go to micro scale. So when you're dealing with geospatial or when you're dealing with location intelligence, period, there's always a question of scale. And that question is often forgot about. So that's exactly what we're doing is we're providing sources that don't currently exist to a set of sensors that can really get good information for you wherever you're at. If it's a city size element that you're looking at and you want to look at movement in the city, satellite's great. If it's a few houses or a neighborhood, you can do aerial or you can go to drones. And the cost of acquisition is not even comparable.
So then the follow-up question to that, Bobby, is that the question I just asked, would you say that gave value to the podcast? Or I'm sorry, that was completely
absolutely. And your mic is back on too, so I can hear it.
I know. I fixed it. Can you believe I saw what the problem was. It was on automatic volume control. I guess it wanted me to shut up. I can't be stopped, Bobby.
That's good.
No, that's awesome. So you're able to, I think somewhere down the future, that's going to be, you're down to like the doorknob from the sky, right?
Yeah.
from satellite imaging of a country all the way down to what somebody's doorknob looks like, and you'll be somewhere in there, right?
It was important for me. So I think that with this conversation, you always have to talk about security, because with the stigma,
Absolutely.
there's the stigma. You have the Fourth Amendment. You have people worried about the government watching on Big Brother, and that's not at all what we're trying to do. What we are trying to do is democratize this so anybody can take a look. And there's different businesses right now that are catching on, saying, "Wow, okay, location intelligence is everything for us." Whether it's oil and gas, and they want to look along their pipelines, they have an obligation to the U.S. government to detail and attribute every single property within a 300-foot buffer of that oil pipeline throughout the U.S. If they don't accurately attribute those features, they get fined by the U.S. government. That's a location intelligence question. Real estate investors, if you're looking at a property to purchase across the country, if your portfolio is nationwide and you're looking at Google Earth imagery, you're looking at years old imagery and you're buying blind. And, to spend tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars on an investment that you're not even going to look at in real time, just a bad investment. So these questions really apply to a lot of businesses. So when we're talking about this, I'm not saying, the government's going to spy on you, I'm going to enable that. In fact, there's laws against that, right? But what we are doing is we're saying, we can go from the satellite view and go all the way down to the ground and look at it from a different perspective. Instead of just overhead at a roof, now you can see the walls. You can get actionable insight of what's going on today, right now.
Not only that, so these with the new technologies that are coming out, I'm sure you'll get into that. We'll get into that a little bit, not technical, because again, I'm not that smart. But the if you're not a self-deprecating pilot, then you're not a real pilot. So
not a real pilot.
So now with the stuff that they have now, there's like thermal imaging. You can damn near see through walls. There's you could see water damage. My buddy's he does that, and he's got a few drones that can kind of do that. Not on the scale that I think, the next level or the next phase of this drone thing is, but I mean, it's to the point where he's, we could look through walls. And I'm like, what? Yeah. So if you get that kind of imagery, that's insanely valuable to anybody, really. Anybody in the construction or real estate, I guess.
Drones are just a vehicle to carry different types of payloads and different types of capabilities. And they're amazing, right? You can pinpoint them in the sky in a 3D space. You can automate them. So you can put any kind of payload on there that they support, and you get that kind of imagery. So it's whether it's hyperspectral, multispectral, thermal, infrared, you get all that. One of the things that we base our model on is the availability of the drones that are out there. And with that, we're looking for the DJI drones that corner 82% of the market, or that compose 82% of the market for prosumer drones. These are unedited off-the-shelf drones that are capable of, it's called electro-optical, basically how you would see a normal picture, right? They can create that type of imagery on a broad scale. Now, if you get down and you say, well, we're going to, isolate the thermal imagery, you have very few of those on a broad scale network. So it's really difficult to provide that offering everywhere. However, the ubiquity of these drones that have these normal off-the-shelf cameras, they're just amazing. There's 188,000 pilots registered in the database today as Part 107 certified drone pilots. There's over 1.5 million drones registered with the FAA. So, and we're growing. Just last year in May, there were only 73,000 pilots registered as 107 pilots. Wow. So from 73,000 to 188 in one year.
And look what's happened in the industry. And I can tell you right now, from a personal note, my application's in there. And one of the things we commented on this is like, hey, if you're a pilot that could potentially be getting furloughed and you don't have your drone license just for some, gee whiz, or let me just put this in my back pocket for who knows. Because at the end of the day, we have to concede to the fact that it is the future. Yeah. Then it's not a good use of your time. You're not doing yourself justice as an aviator if you don't have that ticket, that add-on.
The majority of our audience is pilots, and we've spent quite a bit of time discussing drone capabilities and where it can go in the future. But let's talk about Raven Spatial and what your primary focus is right now, the type of imagery that I don't know if you call them partner pilots or what, that are going to take the imagery. Where are they going to go and what are they going to do initially? And what does your infrastructure look like to support that today?
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk about that. So I think it would be good to lay the base of, our initial market, our launch market is going to be in real estate investment and lending. So with that, we have larger portfolio companies that we're trying to service and essentially get real-time imagery for those properties. So it's initially going to be property-based. What we do now is we take those properties and we create flight plans internally that automate the drone imagery collection 100% from motor startup to motor shutdown and take off the landing. So what we'll do is we'll go through the customer orders, generate the flight plan, and publish those. So the pilots that are to our database, to our app, we're building a mobile app right now called PayPixel, which is going to allow users, the drone and smartphone users, to log in, interface, and take a look at the published tasks around them.
So will the DJI be able to interface with ProPixel, the DJI app?
Yeah, well, not the DJI app. If you have a DJI drone, it uses software. They have a DJI SDK, which is an open source backend essentially, and we can hit that with our API. So we're actually using right now. We're using an app. We just partnered with a company called DroneLink. We have an SLA with DroneLink where we're using their software to enable the pilots to fly automated flight plans for us. Essentially,
that was going to be a good question. Good.
Yeah, we were building back 2 years ago. I just got a notification today on Facebook about launching this video to my friends on Facebook, where we were building drone cache in India, and the whole purpose of drone cache is to do exactly what DroneLink has built. And they came out with a superior product and beat us to market with it, and that's fine. You can't own everything. So we just shut down drone cache back at the end of 2019, jumped on with DroneLink, and very happy with the results. So. Yeah, we can take an unlimited amount of flight plans, push them out, and then our pilots will pick them up. They'll register, we'll have all their information, and then they'll go fly. So the type of imagery that we're collecting right now primarily is orbits around properties. Okay. And we'll go pretty low, usually 100, 150 feet AGL with an orbit around that property with a payload pointed dead at the center of the property's roof. And we'll fly around and take several images in that orbit. And then we fly an outer orbit to take a look at the parcel as a whole, so the whole property. So when the investor's looking, they can see the roof condition down to the tile, and they can also see the entire property and then the surrounding properties around it. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish. Go ahead.
I was going to say, in addition to that, right now, the way we're doing it, it's just kind of like a hack for the early startup, getting through the minimum viable product. We're asking the pilots to go to the end of the driveway and just take a 360 set of images. So they'll do 3 turns, and then we process that into a 360-degree VR ready immersive pano for the customer. So we get them at the street, just like Google Street View, but on demand as of the day of your order.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
And you can put the goggles on and all that?
You can put the goggles on. Yeah, you can wear them. I have my goggles right here to test
and
with.
Like walk into walls as you try to walk them. Those YouTube videos of people walking off into their television. Why are they always walking into the most expensive part of their living room, into the TV?
It's what we do.
My question:
stupid human tricks.
Yeah, I know, right? I may or may not have almost done that. Real estate. What drove you to go there first? I think I might know the answer, but
easy answer. Yeah. Path of least resistance.
Okay.
I got to take every low hanging fruit that I can get right now. I know there's a need. I can meet the need. And the best part is my wife is a real estate attorney who's super personable, and she's got a great network. So her primary clients are my primary customers.
There you go.
And yeah, when we just hang out, and whenever we go to these conferences, we go together. Yeah. So it's really nice to go with my wife. I don't hate her. She's my best friend. And then we get to have fun and go drinking with these guys too. So yeah.
Oh, that's cool. She's a drinker also. Well played, sir. Well done on your
she's a winner all the way around.
So if a oil company or any of these other markets that we've touched upon were to come to you and request imagery, is that something you're capable and or willing to service at this time?
Very good.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I should preface this. I always have to preface it. I'm married to an attorney. So I should say that when we launch, we are very headstrong on launching in a single market to drive deep, so we don't end up boiling the ocean right away.
Sure.
This is the tempting offer that you often get after you launch that pulls people away from that focus. Yeah. And that destroys it. It absolutely obliterates businesses that don't focus. and they go after the first paycheck that comes to their way. So with that said, we are building a platform that will allow anybody from any industry to order the imagery. What we cannot do right away, and what we're limited on, I don't want to say can't do, but what we're limited on doing is building out a special set of tools for a different industry and spending the development time to do that. So, but what we will do confidently is go in and prove traction, viability, and product market fit in the real estate market. And I know, like right now, we're collecting orders for early alpha customers, and it's going well. It seems that we're tackling the problem right away. So we're starting to get those initial KPIs. That's a good thing for us. What I would love to do, I know the huge potential that's out there, but I want to get the product market fit first, stand up on our own legs to the point where we don't need the raise necessarily if we don't need to. However, we're going to. We're a venture scale company, and ultimately we want to go to that next market. What's the next biggest market? What can we start tackling?
Very eloquently put.
Thanks.
Is there?
It seems like your infrastructure, once it's built, it essentially just becomes a different marketing play, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Whether it's real estate or, I mean, I don't even know. Inspectors,
inspections,
what,
insurance,
cables, whatever. There's all these different opportunities. Essentially, it boils down to, do you have the drone operators at your disposal, which is probably the chicken before the egg question, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then it becomes, instead of marketing to the real estate industry specifically, you market the services to the community surrounding where your initial drone operators are. And in the midst of trying to capture that real estate market, you can also grow organically and slowly, even though your resources, it's kind of like an 80-20 split potentially. I mean, that's when I look at it from the outside in, that seems like a really realistic and almost a hedge against risk, early on as a potential option.
Are you incubating his business?
I don't know. It's just something I was thinking about.
I'm willing to be incubated.
Everybody has a price.
His
feedback is.
Exactly.
Everybody has a price.
Exactly.
I heard your comment.
That's good. Yeah, there's a number out there to get you in an industry. There's a
Yeah,
number.
there is.
Everybody's got a number. No, that's some good points, Tyler. I'm impressed.
I will say that I'm not going to name any names. I watch my competition closely, and I have a massive amount of respect for them. And there is a company that is probably one of our largest competitors out there, and they boiled the ocean early on, and they just had a down round in Series C. So, that hurts always.
But was it because of this where we're at, or can you attribute it to because of COVID? I'm saying.
I can only speculate, and the speculation is that you have to narrow your focus back to a single market, and it looks like they're doing that. They're going after a specific market now that fortunately is not real estate, because they have a lot of money in the millions that could beat us out pretty quickly.
Can you say what market or no?
They're going to vertical inspection, so the big windmills, the wind turbines, and solar.
So it's a commercial inspection.
Yeah, it's commercial inspection for them, which is out of our realm, and quite honestly, not where I want to go anyways. So good for them. Yeah, it's good for them.
And good for you.
And good for me. Yeah, we stay out of each other's waters. I know that they've tried real estate at one point, but the cool thing is if you go, for me, cool thing, not for them, but if you go into the real estate investor world and you say, hey, how do you get this imagery today? They have no idea who they are. They've never heard of them. And what they're doing now, these investors are buying Uber delivery drivers to go deliver a pizza to the property of interest. They tell them to keep the pizza, take the photos, and send it back to them.
Way.
Yeah, that's what they're doing right now. So it just doesn't make any sense that this is a market that's crying for a solution.
So it's cool. Sorry to cut you off, but I'm cutting you off, Tyler. The pieces that you have, and that's something that we need to. The point we need to get to some of the people that are listening and that watch is that you have unique allies and traits and talents surrounding you. For instance, your wife. For instance, the career you had before. Like, tap into that to find your niche. Some people don't know where to go. They don't, where should I start? You already knew where to start. It's because you have a wife. You have this niche that you started, that you kind of got into it, the industry-wise. You're in aviation. You had this passion. Start there. Figure out what that is and come up with that niche to start. And then see where it goes.
to enhance on that, to piggyback on that, if you will.
Absolutely.
Everyone loves that term.
I know.
It's Y Combinator puts out this statement, and they're like, you can define the company in an elevator pitch in essentially 3 pieces, and this is what we want to hear from you. We want to hear the problem,
Yep.
how you're solving the problem, and insight. What insight do you bring, and how
nobody else brings.
what is your unfair advantage? And that's what they say over and over again. So with us, I'm self-rating myself as a 9 or a 10 out of 10 on cheating. We'll cheat to get to the market. We have a lot of unfair advantages.
Sure.
Our solution is you can't fall in love with the solution. As a founder, you got to fall in love with the problem. So our solution is growing. I'll say that, but the problem is definitely there. It's ever present. And I think that there's no better team right now in the country to answer this problem than us.
Yeah, there's one of those great quotes, Faulkner, I believe, that says, if go out there, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but go out there and find the thing that if you don't do it, it doesn't get done, because it requires exactly what it is that you possess, whether it be your team, your insight, whatever, your talent. And if you didn't do this, somebody would try to get into this space and screw it up. So you're uniquely, apt. You're uniquely unique in doing this, and it's great.
Yeah, I would say that, and you can't do it alone. So many people try to do it alone. And, if you're thinking about becoming a founder, if you're listening to this and you got to this point and you didn't turn it off yet to go do something else, if you're thinking about going into that realm, I would tell you to invest a considerable amount of time before you even make the jump or consider the jump, to look at how to bring a team together. If you have an amazing idea, or if you have a great idea that you believe in and you're passionate about, it doesn't necessarily guarantee that people will follow you. But if it's cool and it's unique and it excites people, those people will come together. And knowing how to distribute options or how to compensate people to come in and help you is everything. That team is going to be critical for you to move forward. And fortunately for us, I have a senior geospatial engineer, and now we're hiring today a junior geospatial developer to help us build. And they both bring super unique insights to what we're building. And I'm excited about it.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of a good segue and kind of bringing it back to, the potential entrepreneur listening who needs to raise money. You've had a couple rounds, right?
I did.
Can you give us some insight on what those rounds look like? And after that, I kind of like to dive into how you're utilizing that funding, in regards to the real estate market, and what you anticipate funding is going to be required in the future as well.
Sure. And thanks for that question. So it gives me the opportunity to tell everybody where I faulted. So I've raised $200,000 to date. I started out self-funded, emptied my 401k, as the first-time entrepreneur always will, it seems like. So my wife and I pitched in our 401k money. We put $71,000 together and then launched this dream. I went out and raised, within the first 6 months, a $11,000 friends and family round that was supposed to be, we were looking at like $300K from everybody that was initially talking about it. And we were really stoked. So I was thinking, $300K, this is going to be a no-brainer. We're going to do this within a year. We'll be flying. Nothing ever works out like it's supposed to. And then, you don't have.
So while we're on that topic.
There's a lot to open there.
So as you tell this story, and if you're not comfortable with some of these numbers, we can edit it out. Or
I'm super comfortable. I don't care. I'm not going to say what I'm not comfortable with.
So I'm curious, that $11,000 raise, what kind of valuation were you offering your friends and family? Because I think that's going to be an interesting conversation going forward with the different rounds. And I want to know how you mitigated where that went.
I'm laughing because I screwed him over unwittingly. Sorry, guys. For record, I did offer the new safe note to him with different terms that are better for them. So initially, I'm learning as I go, and I thought I had a pretty good handle on. So I put together the safe note from Y Combinator. Boom, and I'm
define safe note, please.
Okay. So the two types of non-equity funding that are most common in startups is convertible note and safe note. Yeah. There are future warrants for equity, literally what the F is in the safe note, future equity. they're warrants for future equity. The convertible note is structured like debt because it has an interest rate and it has a maturity date. So you actually will owe that note back to the investor in full plus the interest rate at the maturity date.
Yep.
The safe note is not a debt instrument, but again, it is a warrant for future equity. The safe note was made because this is where we get taxed, but the convertible note was giving investors in early stage startups, by the way, a very high risk investment, 98% of risk of failure, right? But the reward is huge if you get to convert on that. The convertible note, people were thinking, okay, this company is going to owe me money. What ended up happening was for the companies that would liquidate, they're squeezing a rock, and the investors would try to go after the companies and they would bring legal fees in and do all that, but they're not getting anything out of it.
And that being said, when a company does attempt to recoup that money, it kind of puts a red flag on them for future investors, right? So that's not necessarily a common tactic by investors. They just kind of know, well, this company fails, is my understanding in a lot of those situations.
Yeah, if you're dissolved, I mean, I guess people are going to look at you as a past failure in that endeavor anyways. That's not how people are really judged. It's more or less, there's multiple reasons why companies fail. To be honest, you have to be super lucky to win. You're a founder. You have to be super lucky. You have to have luck on your side. It's not due diligence and hard work and perseverance. There's definitely a play of luck. So going back to that, the convertible note, that it was a struggle for nothing. People realize if you're going to invest and you're going to lose it, walk away. Just make it clean, make it quick, make it easy. Don't involve lawyers. So Y Combinator made this safe note. So they got a template out there, safe note, same thing, just doesn't have interest on it. Cool. I download it, I use it. And then you have terms. You have two primary terms. What is your discount and what is your valuation cap? You can have one or the other or both, right? So I chose the one without the valuation cap, which means there's no future valuation. And I did that and I told them, look, I don't want to do it this early because I don't even want to signal this early on what my valuation might be in later rounds. Let's just go without a valuation cap and I'll give you a 25% discount on the safe. That's actually a pretty good safe. Cool.
Very
All
good.
right.
Yeah.
So the $300,000 I thought I was going to raise, my original attorney delayed for months and months and months trying to help me out with a safe. I relied on him. I tried to do it the right way. I waited. He had a new baby. He didn't come around. No names. I fired him. And, and we pushed, but we finally got it out in December, right before
names.
No names. And right when the Dow took a shit is when we launched the Friends and Family round. And immediately about 200,000 of that was looking at, they're like, they just dissipated, gone. And then I'm like, okay, so what about the 100,000? Do we have that? That went away. And what emerged was two former coworkers of mine. One was an officer when I was a weather forecaster. He was my squadron. He was my flight leader. Okay. And I had no idea he was even watching me. Was the best part. He came out of nowhere and said, "I've been watching you. I believe in you. This is small, but it's what I got. Here's $1,000.
That's awesome.
That $1,000 will mean more to me than as much or more than any contribution I have in this company for the future.
Ever again, like that one first, like it, it's the nod. It's the like, you know what? I believe in you.
That's it.
More than the money. Like
that's it. Yeah, I tell people that all the time. If you're asking me about the safe, if you're asking me about the investment and you don't invest, it doesn't matter to me. It matters that you actually took the time to ask about it because that means that you believe enough to consider it, and that's huge.
That just gave me goosebumps. Like and that's the passion about business for me is stuff like that because it's far beyond the numbers. Like we're talking like guys that are out there to listen to this that have started a business or thinking about it, that are just passionate about something. That's the stuff that drives you. It's when that one person that you didn't even know has been watching you and says, you know what, dude, I don't have much, but I'm willing to give, what I got. And cause I believe in you. Goosebumps, dude. That's awesome.
And I think you're doing a great job with your personal Facebook page. You're throwing a lot out there. It's fun to watch,
Dude, I saw that. I went through it. I'm like, man, I love this stuff.
Yep, so I do have to say I'm involved with an incubator in Tampa. I'll name names here. M-Bar Collective. Lakshmi is the CEO. She came down from Chicago. The owner of the Tampa Bay Lightning is a billionaire philanthropist. And he's a great dude, and he's probably the best owner in the NHL. He went up to Chicago. He recruited Lakshmi and brought her down to Tampa and said, hey, we want to start a new startup trend in technology here in Tampa. Let's make a hub. I want you to be the leading person. You're my right-hand woman. go ahead and launch it. And I got in on that as soon as I could. So I was one of the first
Awesome.
companies in, and Lakshmi holds me to the fire all the time. In fact, I was just telling her that her voice plays in my head at night when it wakes me up, because I always hear her go, execute with excellence. So they're like, they're there for structure. They're there to help build me. But also they're good mentors too in the space.
Absolutely.
And even though I've been through it all, you know, I've had like 90 lives in the military, I still am open to instruction and mentorship. So Facebook,
Also huge to be able to do that.
I don't hold back on Facebook. I post the stuff out there, and I'm very candid, for the good and the bad. And I don't hide anything really from my friends at all. Other than like, he's changed his relationship status every other day. That's not me. But,
Right.
you know, I'll post funny anecdotes or stories or whatever. But I've had multiple times where Lakshmi pulls me in the office and she's like, dude, please stop. Please don't post that.
Yeah.
And my wife is saying the same thing. Please don't post that.
Sure. But
So
how do you feel about it?
I'm posting it, man. I've
Yeah.
got my voice.
Yeah.
So I've grown. I was way worse years ago.
Sure.
And you have to tone down a little bit, but that doesn't mean you lose your voice. It is a little bit of emasculating when you realize that, okay, as a founder, you have to be careful, especially in the cancel culture. It's a whole nother
God.
topic.
We won't get into that.
Yeah. But just,
We'll bring you back for Furlough Fridays. We talk about that all the time.
Cancellation Sundays.
Oh my God. Maybe that should be a new show.
I like it. So, you know, I want to get back to the investment conversation, but first, I kind of want to talk about the incubator just for a couple minutes. One thing I've noticed when brainstorming ideas with people who have ideas and are on the verge of executing, they're always afraid to give something away.
Yeah.
What does the what's the incubator do for you, and where do they come out with a win when you succeed? And then I'd like that to segue back into the next round of investment after that $11,000 initial friends and family round.
Yeah. That sounds good. Okay. Sorry. It's like herding cats when you have three pilots talking to each other.
It's all good. That's what makes it fun. I don't know.
Yeah. This is how you make the 8-hour flights seem like a 30-minute flight.
Correct.
Terrible idea to have pilots in a podcast. Okay. So the incubator, not all are built the same. And Embark Collective really isn't an incubator. It's not really an accelerator. What it is, it's like it's a startup enabler and a co-working space. So they bring you in, you feel like you're part of the family. They connect you with the right people. They're like all the good of the accelerator or incubator, but they don't have that. Embark for right now doesn't have that task. They don't have equity in your company. They're not pulling from you. Their win, yeah, it's amazing, right? I pay a small monthly fee to co-work there, which is extremely low for us. I mean, there's nothing comparable. And I get to be in that community, and I'm always put in touch with the right people. There's always classes going on. I can learn from VC coming into town that talk to us. So it's really cool. No other place I'd rather be. Totally love Embark Collective. If you're lucky enough to be there, congrats. What they do to help
How do you spell that?
EMBARC.
Okay.
Embark Collective.
I
Yeah.
just found them. That's great.
Yeah, they're right there, right down by Amalie. So when we have our office there, I can stumble drunk at the end of the long night and go to the hockey games.
I think all three of us have done that.
Yeah.
I live in Orlando, but I used to live in Tampa. And
Yeah.
All right, let's get back on track.
Yeah.
Bobby.
Sorry. Okay, I'm with you. So
I like Bobby.
That's what
I like Bobby too.
We got to go
That's why
drinking,
he's on
brother.
there.
Yeah, man, I'm down. We're down. Okay, we're gonna get derailed here.
Yeah.
I've already started. So no, so we I love Embark. I love the incubator. I think that incubators are great. Just there's a lot out there that are predatory. So you got to be careful. Embark and your mention about giving stuff away. Of course, investors, the founders should be thinking about this. Incubators, if they have a stake in you, they want you to protect your IP as much as possible. But at the same time, people get pigeonholed into thinking they've got to do everything right. This, I can tell you, I want to say this because this is something I'm learning actively right now. This is in an early stage startup. This is probably my most important tactical advice to another founder starting up. Don't be worried, especially if you're in the military where you dot your I's and you cross your T's. In the beginning, you're most likely going to fail. Stop trying to dot your I's and cross your T's. Your shit's going to look terrible. You just have to push it. The biggest thing is to get it out.
Pull the
Don't
trigger.
focus. Don't go around and around and around trying to make everything perfect because you're going to spend all your money on legal fees. You're going to do all this crap that doesn't need to be done for a company that's most likely going to fail. So I beg you to just go to market as fast as you can. Prove traction, prove viability, talk to the customers, and let that be your focus.
Dude,
Don't
that's
get
great.
bogged down with the shit that doesn't need to be done. Don't go to
awesome.
if you deal with a startup attorney, fantastic. Let him deal with templates with you. Let him give you a little bit of advice here and there. Don't take 3 hours on the phone with them because they're going to bill you for it. And what did you do in that 3 hours? You didn't go forward.
And now you're exhausting your limited resources on
yes.
legal fees
Yes.
when you need that to build a product. There's a
Yes.
time and place, you have to accept a certain level of risk early on from the legal side. One thing, and I'm sure you can attest this, I know Brandon can, it's like, you can put your idea out there. People aren't executors by nature. So, most people that are executors are busy executing on their own stuff. They don't have the time, energy, bandwidth, experience, general product knowledge to steal your idea. So
That's right.
It would fail in the first place.
And if you truly are the cheater, I'd say it laughingly, if you truly are the person with an unfair advantage, they're not going to be able to do it like you can.
Exactly.
They're not going to be able to replicate what you got.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
the best IP is your background.
Yep.
So just move forward and execute. So let's get back to the current raise and what we happen in between. So
is that the one you announced on September 1st? I read something on your.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. It was pretty quick.
Go.
So
Wasn't there something in between that?
there was, and I'm gonna talk about that real quick. So
Awesome.
I was put in touch with a mortgage bank. They will be unnamed just because it's a private
Sure.
contribution, but they are a mortgage company with over 30,000 loans outstanding in the U.S. and they have their own huge portfolio, and they're basically an end user for us. They're a customer for us, so it's a really great investment. It's a good tactical investment. They gave us a $100,000 convertible note, and that allowed us to move forward quickly.
Awesome.
I will say about 33% of that was invested in mistakes on my end. Those are the expensive lessons learned that we all have. We're beyond that. We moved beyond that. I've since changed my team around, and now we're stronger than ever. So what we needed at this point, we were a month and a half away.
Can we get a time window on this date range?
Yeah. So I almost came to like rock bottom with a failed co-founder. The co-founder was overpromising, under-delivering significantly, and I found out that as much as he said he wanted to be part of the club, he didn't want to be.
In the words of Van Wilder, sometimes you have to realize when you made a bad investment and simply cut your losses.
That is with cold surgical precision. Yes,
he was talking
absolutely.
about women, but it applies.
It's the same thing. It is the same thing. It doesn't matter if it's a relationship, a friendship. Cut out the toxic, and you don't have time for that shit. Move on.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, man. With that being said, March kind of came all crashing down. It was my low point. And I'd say from March to June, just being completely honest, I found myself in that fetal position on the couch and like fearing failure, but not really knowing how to get out of it. That was my death spiral. It was my low pit, my low point in the company. And the coolest thing, like I can't say this to many people, you're a founder and I'll be candid here, but when I give an investor update now, like my first bullet that I put there, I want to be like, dude, I pulled my head out of my ass. I was so proud of it, because that's hard. It's super hard to do that. But that's where I was. So serendipity comes back into play. Serendipity and massive amount of luck. The senior geospatial engineer comes forward and says, "Hey, I remember you. We know each other from the past. I won't go into details there, but I want to work with you." I was like, "Dope. Okay. Well, you can help me out significantly here. Here's what I need." Just started jumping in and digging in the trench with me. So super cool. Now he's building this with me. I have a junior developer who's been with us from the very beginning, trying to get in where he fits in. And he's been checking on me. He hasn't asked for $1 of money, just trying to be there and be present the whole way through. So his position is permanently earned in the company, massive amount of loyalty. Do I love him? And he's got great insight. So we have this team now. We're moving forward. Back up a month ago, a month ago, we were at a month and a half of runway left. Now, here's the thing: we're executing, we're turning the ship around, we're pulling out of the death spiral, but we need capital. So how do I do it? I'm like, man, okay, you guys keep building, keep your heads down. grind away. Here's our roadmap. We have stand-ups every night. I'm going to go try to raise money so I can extend our runway and give us this opportunity to move forward and convert, because this is happening now. Awesome. Lessons learned. We're clear. Let's do this shit now. So I went and launched on Facebook. I said, hey, I got a friends and family round opening back up. And within 48 hours, we pulled in $20,000 from the friends and family round.
Wow.
Which bought us our servers to go to MVP, the minimum viable product, essentially launch. It gives us some space in the data center when we need it. I have a friend that owns data centers across the US, so she's helping me out. It allows us an extra 4 months of runway at the minimum burn that we've got right now.
Which is, do you mind sharing burn rate?
Yeah, so right now we're at 2,700 for the burn. In fact, today we're bringing on this. Good. Yeah, we're bringing on the additional developer. So we're going to be probably about 3,700 on the burn, but that's fine. We can do that at the moment. Our goal now is to use this as a bridge to get to post revenue and show month over month growth that it justifies, and it's a compelling story for the pre-seed round. We might bring in here's the question: do we bring in a pre-seed bridge to seed? So pre-seed might be 100 or 125K, just to get us to a longer growth month over month metrics. And then those investors come back for a seed round of a larger seed round.
Can you define seed round for the listener?
Yeah. So this is a hard one. Everyone's got their own opinion on this, even VCs and founders, but generally what you're looking at, the seed round is post 500,000 annual recurring revenue for SaaS companies. I'd say like we're a SaaS company, a modified SaaS company. If you're an investor listening, don't let that turn you off. Just give me a call. We'll explain it. But 500,000 ARR is really where your seed begins. And your series seed generally is your first equity round. It doesn't necessarily need to be, but it often is. And that's where they give you the valuation, and they price out the round, and all your safe notes and convertible notes from your friends and family round convert at that valuation. So it would behoove us if we were able to pull a non-valuation seed round. But, times are tough right now, so we're probably going to have to give up a lot more equity in the company than I wanted to, but at least we got funded and we have the chance to succeed and move forward.
And you still maintain control too. So, I mean, it's
for now.
It's not. Yeah.
For now.
So what are the, for this friends and family round, what were the numbers on that?
The term.
So we raised today, we actually got another contribution. We have 5 investors total. We've raised 24,000. The terms for this round were 3 million val cap. So 3 million post money valuation and 20% discount.
Can you define what that means in layman's terms?
Sure. So we were talking earlier about the safe note and how you have 2 different terms, the valuation cap and the discount.
Yep.
Your valuation cap is for intents and purposes, it's kind of like a valuation for your company. It's not officially a valuation. It's not to be set that, but that shows your investor who's investing where their money's at least going to convert it at the minimum. So say you get a valuation at 3 million, they're going to convert at 3 million and then plus the 20% discount. So let's just say, so for simple math, the strike price when you get that valuation down the road and that the latest investor comes in, 500, 700, 750,000 or whatever it might be. And they go, okay, the strike price sets it at $1 per share. We're going to pay $1 per share. And everybody who's got that 20% discount is going to pay 80 cents per share because that valuation was right at the val cap. Yeah. Say the company valuates at 9 million. Okay. And these people have a valuation cap on their safe note at 3 million. They're still going to convert at 3 million, right? So they're actually going to be 30%. They're going to pay 30% on the dollar, if I'm doing the math right, to the investors that are later in that round. So it's good for us in a way that we have a higher valuation, meaning that in the large term, we can raise more money and give up less equity of the company. That means that somebody's looking at us and going, yeah, they're going to be a unicorn. Let's invest in this.
Let's do it.
And the good side for the safe note investors is they get immediately realize a lot of gain, right? It's unrealized gain.
It's exponential.
Yeah, at that point, yeah, it is. And then not just that round, but the follow-on rounds, if you continue on that curve in an up round, their money is going, you're looking at like 10, 20, 50x plus, right?
Well, that's why it's because guys like Vaynerchuk, he was upset that he didn't do Uber, was it? Or
he did Uber.
He missed out on one of them, and he's like, oh.
Yep.
They
Yeah.
came in friends and family around. I think it's Airbnb, Uber. I mean, I don't know. I'll get
It
corrected,
hurts.
but-
It hurts for them.
Oh yeah.
It's painful for the investors. I want to be an investor too. At the end of this, I want to turn back and go into VC, go into angel investing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, but the one thing that's important, and you see this when you look up Safe Notes, is if you don't plan for it, the Safe Notes can get you by surprise because you'll end up converting them at much more equity than you planned on. And then you could potentially lose that equity. So if you're raising a big amount of money or a large amount of money from your friends and family round, be prepared that you might have a 10% equity giveaway that you didn't expect. So you have to play with the numbers. You have to know what you're getting into.
And in contracting too. I mean, there's ways that you can, give them something for that 10%. There's a lot of things you can play with too.
Yeah. At this point, I mean, the format that we've raised in, I'm very comfortable with. We've raised such a low amount of money, respectively, in friends and family.
Yeah.
What I would love to do is get to 6 months post revenue,
Sure.
and have enough revenue gained each month that we can extend our runway naturally and show that growth. And we go, hey, here's our metrics, here's our traction, here's our product, here's what the users have to say. And the investors come in and go, okay, it's a super compelling case. Let's throw a little bit of money at you and see how you do it.
Sure. Absolutely. That's awesome, man.
Let's segue into strategic partnerships. I know you've got a couple of recent ones, actually, I believe. Do you want to get into that a little bit?
Yeah, I'd love to, man. Thanks. They're everything. You got, just like building your team, you have to find strategic partnerships. When you get into an idea, you're not going to do this alone, and it's so much easier to not reinvent the wheel when you're moving forward. Whether you're using open source code, third-party applications, blah blah blah. So for us, it was important that DroneLink connection with the SLA that was signed with them. It was so incredibly important to work with Jim, their founder, and get that connection established, because that takes away months of development time and tens of thousands of dollars for us. And they have a better product. As far as that goes, that's not our business model. That's just enabling us. So beautiful partner with them. The other one is insurance. We got to have liability insurance. So every time we fly, we want to be covered. If somebody's drone goes down into a car, that's a liability on us. And as a founder, you always constantly need to think about de-risking, just like your investors de-risk the investment when they put money into you.
Yeah.
You got to constantly de-risk yourself so you can stay alive. That doesn't mean like do everything by the book and dot your I's and cross your T's, but just be mindful of what you're doing, right? The insurance is good for us. So we partnered with Skywatch AI. We just came to a verbal agreement yesterday on how we're going to do it. And this is super cool for us. We couldn't have done this 5 years ago because no insurance companies are doing it, but they're an API-based insurance company. So we can essentially go, and as long as we have an event trigger, which for us is when the user presses play or launch, for lack of a better term, on the flight plan, and their drone starts going up to collect, at that moment, that's a signal that's sent through their API that comes to our API that goes to the Skywatch API. And now they go, okay, your what's it called? Not the umbrella, but your rider, the digital rider for that person under your plan, your policy is now in effect for 1 hour. Our flight plans last 7 minutes. Cool. So we get that certificate that's automated on their end. We put it in our database, and now we have a reference to that in the flight plan. If anything ever happens, we can go back and we say, okay, here's our digital rider. We can go ahead and we can execute, and we can file a claim. So we have $1 million of general liability that basically every single person that goes and flies, they're considered a rider, and we got that digital copy there. So
That's
great,
freaking awesome.
great
That is
partnership.
awesome.
The last one is DJI itself. A little sketch right now. I'm nobody at the point. Like we're making $0 a month MRR, so they're not going to care about us at the moment. Potentially, if they see our value, then they could help out. However, with that said, I ran into some issues with them. Pilot speak here. This is good for the crowd.
Sure.
DJI, Chinese company, super weird. They have their own database of airspace, and they call them NFZs, the no-fly zones. They put these no-fly zones kind of willy-nilly all over the place. They'll put them at the approach and departure corridors of like Class D airports, Class C airports. It doesn't matter. It's just so weird. The FAA chose different terms to classify their airspace for drones. So if you're in 107, for example, you can fly in Class C. You just can't fly in surface class C, right?
Exactly.
But the DJI doesn't see that, and these NFZs will actually impact your mission. You could be flying completely legally by the FAA standards. Nobody should bug you about that. If you're in a 107 pilot and you've done everything right, you're flying legally, there's no reason that a no-fly zone, a Chinese no-fly zone, should prevent you from flying into that territory.
Exactly.
You bought their product. You're a consumer. It's just a really weird dynamic between the consumer and the company. So I reached out to him and said, hey, fun fact, we're building this and you're interrupting our flow. You can enable us to do enterprise level collection, which would actually improve the amount of people purchasing from you.
Yeah.
So think about it. Yeah.
Sure.
What we want to do is we want to be able to get rid of those NFZs on scale for anybody that wants to go out and fly. I want to be able to remove that for the pilot.
Is it possible for you to sell them an updated database of where? Because I'm assuming they're getting this from some sort of database where
They're probably trying to de-risk themselves. There's
They
probably
are.
a lawsuit.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is there
Exactly
any
what
way
they're
to
trying to do.
update their database to say, no, this is okay. You can do this, and it'd be of value to them. I'm thinking.
So what we're doing, they reach back out. So this is the cool part. This is where we're at right now.
How did you contact them in the first place? How did you get on the phone with?
I wrote an email to Strategic Partnerships. I wrote to them and I said, what do I have to do to get this fixed? Because this is a problem and it's impacting a growth potential for you and me. Is there any way that we can say, we have the spatial location for this flight plan. I know exactly where it's at. I can send you on your API, because they have one. Yeah. This is where we're going to fly at this time. And this is the person using this controller ID. Go ahead and let me deactivate that no-fly zone for them rather than the person. The whole goal of this at the end of the day is, but the biggest thing is, why are we different from our competitors that crowdsource out drone imagery? There are other companies to do it. They go to their pilots and say, go fly this for me. What they do though, is they go, hey pilot, here's a location that we need you to fly. And this is the type of imagery. You create the flight plan. You do the flight planning the day before for the airspace. You check the weather. You do all of this on your own.
Nope.
And then you provide the insurance. Go to town. So they do, and they'll go out there for, they'll invest an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and depending on how big of a job it is, and they'll go fly and they'll submit it and they'll get 45, 50 bucks. It's not that bad of a deal for that time, 20, 25 bucks an hour. What we want to do is increase the value there. We want to automate everything as much as possible for you. We want you to go fly in good weather and check your aircraft before you launch it. Literally, that's it. Press play, upload the imagery, and you're done. We want to automate the flight plan, the airspace deconfliction, everything.
Absolutely. What you just did was describe the difference between a corporate pilot and a commercial pilot.
Yes.
Commercial pilots, we have dispatchers. We have, all these things that help us get the mission done most efficiently, most effectively, and number one, safely.
Yeah.
You're doing that. You're crossing T's, dotting I's, and making sure that things are done at the lowest common denominator to get the best product, to get the best imagery you possibly can, and resource from your pilots. That's awesome. Wow.
So that's what we're trying to do. Thanks for having me on the podcast today, guys.
Well, before you go, I kind of want you to discuss Enhance and PayPixel.
Yeah, so we're running out of time. Are you going to pay me for this next hour? No, I'm joking.
Absolutely.
I'm joking. Yeah, so Enhance and PayPixel. This is a hot topic right now. I just sorry if you're listening, guy. I went head to head with somebody who's been giving me advice on the side. He says, you have too many brands, too many logos. You need to unify it into one because you're going to hurt your valuation and your bottom line. And like a founder that's trying to make a transformational company, I don't care what Uber or Lyft did. I don't care what the other guys did. Nope. This is a decision that I'm making and I'm putting my foot down. Yeah. I'm not going to change the model that we have right now because of investor fear or concern. Mm-hmm. What I am going to do is I'm going to push our theories and I'm going to listen to the feedback from the customers. If they're confused, we change it. So with that, this sounds a little wonky. Bear with me. Let me prove it. Because if I do, they're going to change the way that MBA classes are done. That's what I'm aiming for. Awesome. I want to modify this model. But Raven Spatial is the overall company. We're the ones that deal with the contracts. We're the ones that deal with the funding. We report the financials at the end of the year. our revenue streams come from PayPixel and Enhance. Two different brands, two different end users, two different markets, two different targets, demographics, everything. They're completely separate. PayPixel is focused on the gig user, the drone pilot, the operator, the non-drone pilot, the smartphone user, anybody who can collect imagery with a phone. Them. We want to go after the gig users, and we want to make them feel like family. I want to Elon Musk them and meme the shit out of them. We want to make it like we want to make it like a CD college dorm room when we're advertising to them. We will just make it real, right?
Yeah,
real
absolutely.
Marketing for people who feel that shit, because that's what we're building. We're building something from people. So that is our people model. And that's my passion side. This is my passion project, PayPixel. I love it. Enhance is different. Enhance is for the investor, the more esteemed person that needs professional imagery right now. They don't care. They don't want to hear the message that we're sending out to the pilots or the people in the smartphones taking imagery for us. So we drive that complete steel barrier between them that you can't see through. They never talk to the end user. They never communicate with them. There's always that break there. That's our proprietary crowd, and they don't talk to our customers. So we keep that separate always. The Enhance side is a different type of marketing, a different type of voice. Enhance is where customers log into the portal. They can order on a map. So it's very much like Google meets Zillow with an on-demand ordering capability. So you can go into this web map and zoom in. You've got satellite imagery there. You have aerial imagery to help you locate a property. You can draw a box around the property, hit submit. Something super intuitive for the average user, non-technical user, to order imagery. Same thing, the problem that I faced when I was an aerial imagery pilot before, we've put this into fruition. So this is Enhance. Enhance allows us to serve that imagery back up to them with a geospatial reference. So you zoom in on that property, you see the point that you dropped in the order, you click on it, and now you see the gallery of the images there in real time with the timestamps.
So if I have a drone, and I'm on your platform, I can actually still get job requests via PayPixel and Enhance, though, correct? It's just the customer is different. Is that right?
What you don't want to do is compare the two. And this is the problem that I have is when you separate this, you have some confusion there. It's going to be confusing for investors and people trying to understand the whole company as a whole. It's not what I'm doing this for is it's going to be less confusing to the people when they see it. So when we launch, PayPixel is going to be its own thing. You're going to see PayPixel. It's the only thing you're going to interface with. You have no idea what Enhance is.
As a drone pilot.
Yeah, as a drone pilot, as a smartphone user, you just know that there's an app out there that you can get tasked and take pictures and upload them and get paid. That's it.
Yep.
And PayPixel, and you're going to be inundated with this marketing.
So who's the customer with PayPixel though?
The customer is us. So
Gotcha.
Yeah, we're the customer. We're receiving the imagery from them. We're creating this marketplace for them.
You're paying your pilot through Pixel. Yeah. Pixel is just the basically it's the funnel.
That's it.
You're finding a business funnel.
We're a two-sided marketplace that has driven a divide between the one side of the market and the other. Our divide is literally our servers, our backend, and our API. We obfuscate the process, so we simplify it that way. The ask there is for these investors that come in. If we can prove this works and we can show traction that's through the freaking roof, the investor is going to have, I'm going to tell them, if you're going to be an investor in this company, and if we're showing traction, you're going to have investors come to you and say, I want to invest in your company. Cool. Well, my ask for you, Mr. Investor, is to understand this process. Take an extra 5 minutes to understand why we're doing this. Don't just run me out of your office because you don't like the idea that it's a two-sided market with a divider and two different companies or two different products and logos. So but going back to that PayPixel, you get a task, you go complete the task, you upload it, you get paid. And there's tasks around you that are either point-based, so you can go pay for points. And this is the cool part. This is what I love. This is the fun part. You'll collect for points or you'll collect for cash. You'll know the difference between the task when you see them by color and by type. So you click on them and you get the information on the task. Oh, that looks cool and it's nearby. It's 3 miles away. Let me reserve that. And it's just like a scooter rental. I can go and boop and reserve it. Now it's mine. And the task goes from published and ready to in process. So I can actually see in process orders by filter as another user. And I go, darn, that's taken. But I'll wait on it. And I can reserve that. Hey, I want to be next in line. Boop. So if that person fails to fulfill this next in line is notified, hey, you're next in line. Want to go fulfill this one? No, I don't. But every other person steps in line. That way we can fulfill it faster. Okay. The other thing that we're going to do is easy for us. And this is the part that's cool because I like playing with toys. This is the only part of the hardware that we really get into is integrating a marketplace into that. So what we want to do is get the cheap toys, the cheap Chinese toys that actually might enable our people to do cool stuff. Like this is an Osmo. It's like $120, right? We throw this out there and say, hey, for 1,500 points, you can buy an Osmo. And then they convert their points into a purchase. So we create this marketplace for them. What we're doing is we're stalling the payments immediately up front, and we're taking that imagery and we're collecting it on demand. But the bigger thing, what we're doing is we're engaging a crowd. We're putting more points out there. We don't have to wait for the customer request. We're literally creating a synthetic demand that people want to engage more. They share that with their friends, and they get some extra points for the Osmo. Their friends share it with their friends, and they get some extra points for the Osmo. Where do we get money for the Osmo? Well, that's why we raise venture capital.
Exactly.
So that's where we're at.
No, that's actually, I kind of like that model. I kind of like where your thought process is there.
Thanks.
That's smart. Very smart. And I think if you explain it in that way, most investors, even the keen ones, will be like, okay. And this is what I was telling Buddy the other day is that he was making a comment about a business. And I'm like, man, nowadays I can't say something won't work. Okay. I've lost the ability to assess what will and will not be successful now in this place where we're at.
It's a very humbling time we live in.
Man, like any and everything could potentially be that ocean, that blue ocean. You just, man, it's tough. You just don't know.
And that's why, if you're looking for an investor, I think one of the primary keys, and it's probably the most essential part of the whole process, is they have to see and understand your vision. And that could be on you if you don't articulate your vision, right? You can make that mistake. But
and that is my Achilles heel. And you nailed that.
Yeah.
It's the story you're selling. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the metrics behind that, their willingness to listen to you is depleted.
Yeah, you got to have those KPIs.
You have to have a compelling. Yeah, you have to have compelling traction in order for them to even listen to you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's normal. That's everything. That's.
Mm-hmm.
So the majority of our listeners, while we may have a few investors, are probably budding entrepreneurs. I think you've done an awesome job describing different aspects from operations to legal to raising, and you've done a great job educating there. The majority of our listeners are going to be the drone operator sitting at home in the midst of furlough. How close are you to being able to provide them an opportunity to make a few bucks, or maybe start gaining points on PayPixel? Or where are you at in terms of getting these operators out on the road and flying their DJI?
We're pretty close. Right now, we're already collecting in Florida. So if you're in Florida and you have a 107, we need you right now. So I can put out a link. You can sign up, and then that way I'll have you on my map. And right now what we're doing is as soon as a task is pushed to the map, we take a 15-mile radius of everyone around. And then we do a 25-mile radius, a 35-mile radius. And then those are, those affect the pay that we pay out right now. I didn't say this. This is one actually a good, solid tactical advice. When you start in your company, if you're going to be a founder moving forward, do the things that aren't scalable. You hear that all the time, but it actually makes a lot of sense. You don't have the time or the capability to develop everything and automate it all at once. Do the things that aren't scalable, get out your product. And then,
because a lot of times you'll figure out how to scale.
Yes.
Working at the lowest level.
Yeah.
As soon as you jump in and you start handling the problem, you're going to start realizing your workflows. And if you're a good founder and you're looking for opportunities, you're going to find ways to make it more efficient.
What does it look like, the drone operator? How much are they going to make on an image?
So when we put out the product, the marketing to PayPixel, we're going to have like guys like throwing dollars off the boat, with like babes surrounding them. Like you can make this much money. Yeah. They're going to get out of like cars, so actually that
Bugattis
funny. And so funny enough, we're actually going to joke. This is going to be our marketing. This is going to be our voice. It's all just funny as shit. right? And we're making fun of ourselves. Like, we know that this is a gig economy. You're not going to be able to shower your baby mama $100 bills that you just made from PayPixel, but you can convert that time that you're not making money into a dinner for your family.
Sure,
if you give me the opportunity to take my $1,000 drone that's sitting in the closet, and I hear my wife all the time tell my adult friends that I'm a boy child and I never fly that drone and it's sitting in the closet, and now I just took that and I made enough to buy my family dinner at Outback Steakhouse. High five, and that's a win. You put that back in the wife's face, guys. I'm telling you, this is the secret code. So you're going to be able to make about, in the beginning, 45 to 60, depending on how far away you are, on a 5-minute flight plan. Yep. By any sense of Warren Buffett metrics, that's a fantastic deal. Okay.
It's a great return.
Yeah, it's a great return. Eventually, when we have this inundated market, there's enough people on there. The demand is there. Our equilibrium is probably going to go down to like $25 to $35 in flight plan. Still a 5-minute flight plan, and we're making it easy for you to do it. Are you going to kick that out? Well, if you do, congratulations. You're a millionaire, and you don't need the opportunity. There's 20 other guys that do. And I'm not trying to. Here's what I want to say with that, and I think it needs to be said because I deal with this all the time in that market. There's people going, well, you're just exploiting us. No, it's called capitalism. The availability is out there. You bought a drone that has these capabilities. That was a fantastic purchase, right? I'm not.
It's like, if you feel exploited, don't sign up.
Do it. You don't have to sign up. You don't have to do it. We would still like you to, because I'm not going to tell anybody that you flew for me. If you feel exploited, you can continue feeling that way. You can own that. What we want to do, though, is, and this is what we're doing, and this is the big point. The customers that we have are currently using Google Satellite and Google Earth. They aren't buying drone imagery because there's no way for them to easily do it across the country. We're enabling that process. You know what? So now you have new people and new opportunities there that didn't exist before. Yep. I'm providing more to the market, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that.
As you should be.
You
should be.
So,
My last question, because my big thing is about the youth. You know, I've had, my success. I've done some things with the youth, and what would you tell a young kid coming up to encourage them to get into this industry? And it could be brief, it could be one word, it could be whatever it is you want, to pursue this career field, to get into this thing.
What career field is that specifically?
The career field would be, I guess, drone. I guess to pursue a drone career, or because it sounds like it's turning into something. It's not just a hobby. It's not a toy. It's not something that traditionally, as pilots, when we came up, we never wanted to touch the thing. Now it's the way of the future. Would you, or would you even recommend this kind of thing?
I wouldn't. And just because, it's super volatile, right? If you want a drone, what we're doing is making a way for you to make a little bit extra on the side. Is that going to be your primary focus? No. And if you make it that way, if you say, I want to have a drone company taking imagery, you're going to be pushed out of the market so quick because everyone has a drone. So, don't go buy a lawnmower and start a lawnmower service when everybody in the city has a lawnmower. It's not fun. What I would tell you to do instead is every industry out there is going automated. There is a massive need for developers. Not everybody has a developer mind, and I don't. I code, but I suck at it. What I would tell you is if you're going to start young and you're looking at getting into aviation included, anything, doesn't matter. Get into the tech side immediately. If you can code, learn to code. Learn to code. Do it on your own. You don't even need to go to school for it. That's the best developers don't.
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. If you can do it. And then for the people that are non-technical, you can still be a project manager, and there's a need for them. Absolutely. And the last thing I'll say is, as insight from a dev team, there are people who code, there are people who manage coders, and there are people who own products. And there are 3 different types of people, and they're needed on every single dev team moving forward. So literally every dev team needs those people. We all have our own rights. We all have our own channels. Pick one of the 3. That's a pretty broad range of skill sets.
That for someone that initially thought that wasn't going to be a good answer, that was an amazing answer.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
No, it's good.
I have 2 quick questions, then we'll let you go. I know you're a busy man. I appreciate your time. A lot of people don't have access or the dollars at hand, to join an incubator like you did. Who do you use open source as a mentor, a YouTube personality, author? Is there anybody you reference on a regular basis just to gain inspiration from or guidance?
I'm not
public
that guy.
personality.
I'm not
No?
that guy. I feel bad saying that. I like listening to Gary Vaynerchuk, but those are sound bites, man, and they don't.
Yeah.
I have my own problems,
Yeah.
and I have my own things that I need to work through. And I do have mentors. I have friends, and I found them. And I actually have exited founders that are my mentors too, and that's super cool. If you can do that, cash money, baby, because they know
Yeah.
they've been there. They've been down that road. And they can say, don't do that shit that you're about to do. Oh, why? That's great insight. Okay, it's just saved me $100,000 in 6 months of pain. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that, you can have mentors in everyday life. The people that have been down that road. And when you're a founder, dude, you're not just dealing with money raising. You're dealing with like mental strength and fortitude. So to have those people there in your corner, Gary Vaynerchuk's not going to give me that mental fortitude reinforcement.
Nope.
I'm going to have to apply mine to his, and I'll be like I'm going to say this, it sounds bitter. I'm going to be like every sucker in Silicon Valley that goes to listen to the VCs, that sits in the crowd, like, the sucker founders. You see them all the time, and they're just there nodding their heads. And then the VC walk out with a gift bag, and they don't care about anybody in the crowd. Every day that happens out there. It's disgusting.
It does.
Don't be that. Find somebody that cares about you.
Good point, man.
Yep. Very good point. Lastly, are there any questions that you wish we would have brought up that you'd like to address before you go today?
No, I will. I'd like to add one more thing though.
Yeah.
So I've been, here's my estrogen coming out. I raising from friends and family is the toughest round I'll ever have, ever. And it's because the people that have invested in my company, that's not their primary job. Their profession isn't, they're not a professional investor. The money that they're giving me is their daughter's first car, is their kid's scholarship for school early on. It could pay for several months of daycare. And I recognize that. And these people have been watching me, and it's such a validation for me. At the same time, I'm not looking for external validation. I am looking for help. And when they come forward and they do that by request, holy shit, is something that hits you, right? So I've teared up on multiple occasions this last week, the last 2 weeks. I can't thank those people enough. At the same time, your support network is everything. So if you're listening, you have toxic people, cut them out and find the people that are actually going to believe in you and support you. I won the lottery with a wife, and I probably wouldn't have been able to do this without her support. So, for those people that have wives, that have support structures there that are there for you, realize that those are assets, just like way more important than money in your account.
Oh yeah.
And, with that, two sides of the argument here, listen to those people, right? And if they need your time more than you need this company, maybe consider not doing the company. Maybe consider not being a founder.
Ooh.
That's all.
That gave me goosebumps, dude.
I like it.
Yeah.
You got anything else, Brandon?
No, sir, man. Bobby, impressive. Yeah. Good stuff, brother.
Yeah.
All right, boys. It's been fun.
Yeah, man.
We're going to try and do this again maybe in 6-8 months and see where you're at. And
Dude. Whoa.
Hi, I'm Bobby Quinn. I'm a salesman at Brandon Ford here in Tampa, Florida. What kind of car can I put you in today?
That's all right. There'll still be value to the listener. So that's the primary objective here. So
and when you're ready to shoot that video in the boat, I got this guy in St. Pete. He used to fly with us. Kenny, you know who you are. He's got an amazing boat. I'm gonna send you the link. His boat.
Actually, literally, if you want to send that to me,
Yeah.
I am ready to execute today.
Dude, it's called the name of his boat is called Compensator.
Bro,
dude, I'm gonna send you this.
Best.
Dude, I'm gonna send you this. Wait till you see this thing.
Here, I'm stealing time. If you're listening,
that's fine.
You should turn it off. Here it is. It's the setup. We're gonna fly the drone in off the water, and it's gonna slowly get the boat in the scene, and it's gonna go right into the name of the boat, Compensator. And as it zooms up, and you start to see the deck, people are gonna have money guns, just shooting money everywhere. Girls everywhere on the boat, just pimped out. But the guy that's like the guy there in the jacket is going to be a skinny nerd. We got to have this skinny nerd, and that's it. I can't wait.
I just sent it to you. Well, actually, yeah, you got two. Oh, I'm sending it to Bobby Quinn. It's coming.
Okay,
yeah, I'm gonna show it
perfect.
to you, and he's a nut too. He's a pilot. He's a Southwest guy, but I used to fly with him back in the day. Probably one of the greatest pilots I ever flew with. He's just a great dude, man. And you'll love him. But anyway,
This is going to be, when we do the pay pixel ads and we do the pay pixel marketing, it's going to be the break from the daily routine for sure. So cool, guys. I really appreciate the time. I'd love to have a drink night with you.
yeah. Oh, we're definitely doing that. Forget it.
Yep.
It's done.
Cool. Awesome.
All right, brother.
You guys are the
Take
best.
care, guys.
See you,
Thanks.
fellas.
See you, Tyler. Bye.
Bye.